going to call this video perception. And there's a lot of things that targeted individuals are going to have a problem with. And a lot of times they're going to find themselves perceiving things according to the trauma that they've had, from their harassment. And it's going to be a problem. We're going to talk about that. I've made a lot of videos about sensitization and how people can be sensitized to keywords, to colors, to smells, whatever. And all those things can be connected. And you have what I call, it's like circular reasoning, where, the targeted individual is going to be revolving everything they see around the axiom of gang stalking. Okay. I've talked about before that this world is ruled by principalities and powers, and those things are invisible. They, are, manipulating people. They are deceiving people. And, in that process, there are a lot of things that are possible, okay? Because, what happens is targeted individuals get very defensive when someone says, oh, you're reading into, something, or you're crazy, or you're cuckoo, because nothing's going on, and you think something is. Whether it's, like I've mentioned, the fire truck thing, or the ambulances, or the helicopters that are flying over the city center, targeted individuals are going to use the axiom that, because they're targeted individuals, because they're victims of harassment, that now everything is, revolving around that reality. Doesn't matter what it is. And that's not true. You are, though, a targeted person. The things that you've experienced are real, but you have to know how that works. Okay, I've mentioned the movie Fallen before. And if you've never watched the movie Fallen, you need to watch it. And those people that were involved, in the whole scenario that Denzel Washington was in, they did not particularly understand what they were doing. And I'm not saying that's the case in your scenario. I'm saying that underneath, some of the time when you're dealing with something, it is similar to that people are being manipulated by these principalities and powers and spirits and so forth. And whatever it is, people can be used, whoever they are. They can be used if they're, maybe a police officer, or a fire person, or a first responder, or a restaurant worker, or a member of your family, or a coworker, or whatever. And sometimes those things are conscious, and sometimes they're not. The problem is that in this psychological strategy that is being used against you, and, I'm going to have to make all those videos again, but that's what you're dealing with, is a psychological strategy is to infect your brain and get you to perceive everything around you incorrectly, okay, and come to, the wrong conclusion about things that are part of your harassment, and come to wrong conclusions about things around you that aren't part of your scenario. So you might be sensitized to keywords. I've had people come after me on the channel about, using a word, or in the comments I'll say something and they're like, yeah, I knew you were a handler because, I was, in an argument with, somebody in my intimate life, and they used that word, and so now you're in on it and you know all about it. And, you're just part of this whole thing to come after me. And that's obviously not true. Okay. And if people who are victims of harassment, or even just victims of trauma, would realize that their thinking is going to be messed up. They're going to have that circular reasoning where everything is going to revolve around that axiom. Because when trauma victims are attacked, that's something that plays into everything that they're going to do, because that's just a defense mechanism. It's a survival instinct. It has been turned on high alert. Now they are perceiving all the data that's coming at them through this axiom, through this perception that people are after them, that the things that they say aren't really the words that they're saying. They have a hidden meaning. Or, there's the innuendos, double entendres. And I'm not saying that those things cannot happen, but you're going to have to get to the point where you don't forget the big picture. And the big picture is, if somebody's doing that they're going to be judged, that they are breaking the rules of the universe, that they are out of the biblical guidelines, and that you can't be wrong and right at the same time. If somebody is abusing you or attacking you, then they've revealed to you one thing that you can't forget. First, they're idiots. Second, you should probably pray for them because they're under the influence of something that is taking them to a really bad place. And thirdly, that the whole thing is it's just like the saying that they always have is just plain wrong. It's just plain wrong. And whatever the messages are coming through, whatever kind of street theater that you're experiencing, is to gaslight you into believing a lie. And so when you're dealing with a liar and an abuser and somebody who's out there, breaking all the cosmic rules of a conversation or just, behavioral etiquette, you need to ignore them. You might want to feel sorry for them, but you can't, take this the wrong way. And I've mentioned before that group dynamics play into that, where you're going to get that stimuli from a lot of different areas, and you're going to perceive that somehow you're the odd person out, and everybody's got the right to do this, and in some way, shape, or form, it's okay for them, that they're justified in this whole thing. Don't believe that. Remember where you are. And that's why it's important to, hold to the biblical principles, first of all, for your criteria in, judging, hey, do I have to pay attention to this? Is it relevant? Where's it coming from? What does it mean? What does it mean to me? And, what do I do with it? And, you throw it away is what you do. You ignore what's going on. You don't process that information as relevant. And you're living in a world that can be manipulated that way. And you can't come to conclusions by watching gang stalking videos. You can't believe that everybody wearing a red shirt is after you, or that every time you see an ambulance or something that it's about you, or that every time you see a helicopter or an airplane fly over, that they are watching you, or that you're being followed by the aerial vehicle, or whatever the case is. Every time someone uses a keyword, every time someone whistles or, has bizarre behavior, maybe, it is, but if it is, you need to ignore it. So there's that fear also in the targeted individual that they are being, basically driven insane. And that fear is that you are, basically insane, that you're nuts, that you're cuckoo banana town, and you're reading into all this stuff. But the thing that you have to remember is you have to forgive yourself as a victim of trauma when you make a mistake, when you read into a situation or a conversation or something, and you're going to get to the point where you're just going to start writing this stuff off and you're not going to care. And at that point, you're going to realize how irrelevant all that stuff is. if you can get to the point where if somebody comes up and says something to you, you just don't care about it, whether you are just, writing it off as, not enough criteria to assume that you are being harassed or attacked by someone, or whether it is. Well, maybe it is something like that. Maybe someone is getting funky with you. Okay, now what? Well, just go about your day. Write it off. You have to know the motive behind something like that. And if it's not affecting you, big deal. And one of the other things that I've talked about before too is the self-scrutiny, which comes into play in that dynamic, to where they want you to scrutinize yourself. The whole message and the lie that is sent to targeted individuals is that they are being watched all the time. They are being constantly scrutinized. It doesn't matter what they're doing. They could be going to the bathroom, cooking dinner, cooking breakfast, sleeping, whatever. Reading a book, walking down the street, driving around in their vehicle, and somehow everyone is watching, and they are being scrutinized. Every thought that they are having is being scrutinized and recorded, and there's a microchip somewhere in their body, and they're so important that every little thought has to be cataloged, and the whole payoff behind it is, that they are some type of guinea pig. I'm not saying that it's not possible for someone to be, a guinea pig and an experiment. I think we have proof the government does that. But the point is, they want you, even if you're not, something like that, even if you're not a victim of some type of government covert program, to scrutinize yourself to death, right? And, the beauty behind it is that, the kingdom of darkness, they can throw thoughts into your head, and then, of course, it's the good cop, bad cop. They can play with you all day with that. Every time you hear a key word, the people are, involved in this whole ominous, overbearing, scenario that you live in this place where everybody's after you and everybody is in collusion, communicating over their phones and conspiring against you, sending the cops after you, driving by your house with fire trucks, flying over your house with aerial vehicles, with helicopters and planes. And, the whole thing is, just designed especially for you, and they're, reading all your thoughts, and everybody is watching and laughing. You got to step back a little bit and realize really what's going on. I talked about the spiritual reality, and I talked about the motive, and I've talked about how they want you to be victims of that circular reasoning. And even if you, catch yourself doing it, you've got to forgive yourself and give yourself a break, okay? Because you're a victim of trauma. If you hear a key word or something and you wonder what's going on and you're starting to sit there and, kind of mull around in your mind, or if there's bizarre behavior, or you suspect stalling tactics, or you suspect that people in the group are using that double entendre or innuendo, just let it go. What's the truth about, what's going to happen to the people that are involved in this? You've got this life. It's a breath. You're here. It's here today, gone tomorrow. And then after that, you have eternity. And they want you to feel you're the odd person out. You're missing out on everything. And they're ruling the world. They're, all laughing at you or whatever. And, they're going to get away with it. They're not. Like, even if you're not reading into it, even if you are being legitimately attacked and harassed, you need to process it that way and just completely look at them like foolish children who have lost their way, and they're following the Pied Piper into a really bad place. So remember that this whole, strategy is to get you to read into things and to be paranoid about it when you do. Don't. Forgive yourself, and remember that these people are just plain wrong. Guys, be good to yourself.